Hello everyone and welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. My brother and I, as you can see, are actually in the same house. It is the holiday season here in America, so I'm visiting down here and we decided to make a video with both of us in it. And for the topic, we chose something we both love, which is horror movies. So today we're going to go over our top 25 horror movies, which was difficult to figure out, but also kind of easy. We both love the topic and have a lot of similarity in the type of horror movies that we like to watch. But also we had to really pick what went where, and compromise on some of our picks. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to start with some honorable mentions. And I think I'll start. And I'm going to start with the Amityville Horror. And we didn't write down the dates that these came out, but this came out in the late 70s. Okay. And it came from a book by Jay Anson. And this book and this movie were hugely inspirational because they brought this kind of desire for true stories to Hollywood that has continued up to this day. People love a ghost story when it's based on a true story. It didn't make our list, but it is well worth a watch. It's a great old ghost story. Oh no, we're going to go to that one in a second. I'm going to do one more. I'm so sorry. The next one I'm going to talk about is The Conjuring. We've both seen it. I remember really enjoying it. I don't remember it perfectly now. It didn't make it on our list, but actually the Conjuring universe has quite a few good movies in it. I liked the Annabelle Creation movie that was back in the past. That was really enjoyable. And I know that I really enjoyed The Conjuring. And I liked the second one that was in England as well. So those are honorable mentions. How about Babadook?
Yeah, Babadook. Excellent honorable mention. You should totally check it out. It, of course, deals with a ghost, but also kind of a psychological situation that a person might be going through. A lot of ghost stories do that. They'll cross over. This is no exception. It's an excellent, really cool movie. It just didn't quite make our list.
And last but not... Well, no, that's not true. Two more, sorry. One for me, The Wicker Man. I absolutely love The Wicker Man. I only saw it recently. Somehow... No, that's not true. I'd seen it when I was younger, but I didn't remember it that well, and it came out on 4K. Unfortunately, I didn't bring my physical media collection with me, so some of these that I love, I do have copies. They're just at home, and home is far away, so that makes it impossible for me to just go grab them. The Wicker Man, a lot of people feel like it is when folk horror finally broke into the mainstream. It is an incredibly strange, incredibly fun movie. There is going to be folk horror on this list. I do appreciate the historical significance of Wicker Man. It's just, I feel that some of these other ones, the more modern ones, hit me a little bit harder. Even though they are, of course, a huge debt to The Wicker Man, which is a really, really great movie. Okay.
And one quick thing on that subject, all these films are going to be more kind of ghost oriented and creep oriented, right? We don't. I'm not a big slasher fan. Chris is not a big slasher fan. They're not. Like Silence of the Lambs isn't on the list. It's an excellent film, but it's not on the list anywhere because that's not horror to us.
Yeah, we kind of put that aside to psychological thriller or thriller and kind of separated them in our brain.
Right.
Because I feel like Silence of the Lambs falls more with Seven than it does with, The Exorcist or whatever.
Right. So we just prefer films that are slow creep movies.
Yeah.
So this list is going to be full of those, not full of Freddy Krueger and stuff. Even though they're fun to watch, they're just not our specific definition of a horror film.
Yeah, honorable mentioning Nightmare on Elm Street. That was the terror of my childhood. Yeah. I remember 8 years old, I decided to watch one by myself. My parents were away at a party, and that was one of the longest nights of my life. Straight up. It was insanely scary. So yeah, honorable mention, but yeah, we have a tendency to go for creep more than gore.
So, last honorable mention is The Innocents. This film is based on A Turn of the Screw by
Henry James.
Henry James. And it's a brilliant, awesome, scary, crazy movie. It came out right before Psycho, so it's not really old.
Late 50s?
No, 60s.
Early 60s. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not really old, but it's black and white, which will make you feel that way. But it's just great. It's definitely an honorable mention for us.
Yeah. Okay, those are our honorable mentions. Now we can jump into the list proper. We're going to go in reverse order, of course, and we're going to start with number 25. I don't know. Yeah, I'll let you talk about this to start. Number 25 is Psycho.
Yeah, Psycho. Alfred Hitchcock, great film, came out in 1960. Really influential, of course. I'm sure most people have probably seen this. And honestly, this sort of contradicts what we were saying earlier about wanting to have a ghost. But still, right? The creep in this is just a psycho killer movie, but it's really well made. The twist halfway through is just excellent. The twist at the end is excellent. I mean, if you haven't seen the end, I do have to say, these older films, if you're saying, I want to get scared like I was when I watched It Follows or something, these aren't going to do that, right? They're older. It was a different time.
It's funny you picked a throwback movie that is trying to act like an older movie.
Oh, yeah. yeah. Something modern, right? Because we've come a long way when it comes to scaring people. These older films aren't going to do it. We rented it on Halloween when I was younger because we wanted to be scared. And it's just not that scary, but man, it's a great film.
Yeah, you have to appreciate how it broke ground at that time,
right?
And then if our parents were in here, talking about when they first saw it, it scared them
right
terribly. But horror doesn't age that way. You can appreciate what it did in the past, but it won't be scary. Like if we put this on for my daughter, it wouldn't scare her at all.
Right.
Yeah.
It would just be kind of shocking, right?
Yeah.
But excellent. Definitely worth seeing.
The main actor, is incredible.
George C. Scott.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, George C. Scott.
Yep.
And I just that's my jam. 70s ghost stories and folk horror are really where I head when I look for horror.
And we should mention The Omen as an honorable mention. Sorry, to go back, we forgot. Yeah, The Omen's another good kind of 70s sort of.
I remember watching
creepy.
a documentary about the decapitation scene in The Omen and how incredible that was. Yeah. For me, it doesn't hit to some of the levels of the other religious horror movies that will be on this list. Number 17 is Ghost Story by John Irvin from 1981. This is a really incredible... I'm going to call it 70s. I know I just said it came out in 81, but this to me is kind of the time where the 70s were ending and the 80s were trying to figure out what they were going to do. And in fact, it's very interesting because watching the special features on Ghost Story on my DVD, they were talking about that they felt that the scares were too intense and happened too quickly, and that's what really makes this story stick out. Or the scares are a whole new level from the 70s. There are so many great jump cuts and creep scares in this movie, but the director and the cinematographer and the makeup guys, all of them in the DVD, seem to think that that's what made the movie not do as well. Is that it was too many scares, which now it's like too many scares isn't a thing. But back then it was interesting to hear them talk about that, and it gives us a real ability to look back to the 70s and see what they were about. I wanted to mention that this is the last movie that has Fred Astaire and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. in it together. I don't know if it was their last at all, and it's based on the novel Ghost Story by Peter Straub. I did my top 10 horror novels a while back. I am now currently reading Julia by Peter Straub, his first novel, and I'll be putting up a video in a couple of days about that. But Ghost Story is Peter Straub's peak, I think, in popularity. I've tried to read Ghost Story a couple of times, and I DNF'd twice, 3 times with it.
What does that mean?
Did not finish.
Right.
It starts different than the movie, and there's a very long section at the beginning that is nowhere in this movie, and for some odd reason I have a very hard time getting through that. I will push through because Julia's been really good, and I feel like Ghost Story will be really good as well. Okay, number 16, a classic, Rosemary's Baby. Apparently nobody likes this front cover. There were videos all over YouTube about how terrible this front cover was. Directed in 1968, well, in 67 probably. Released in 68 by Roman Polanski. This is based on a novel by Ira Levin, one I also hope to read someday. I have not read Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. Unfortunately, this director has had some really gross issues and isn't the greatest person, but this is an incredible movie. In my opinion, this is another really great intro to folk horror. It predates The Wicker Man by I think 3 years, and I know that there's like Blood on Satan's Claw and stuff that might be earlier. I don't know if that is earlier, but this is scary cult. But the cult is in the most benign place. I don't know if that's the right word. The place you'd never expect it.
Right.
And it just makes the movie incredible.
New York social life.
Right, yeah. Just an old apartment building.
Right.
With some creepy cult people all up in it. And yeah, it's really wonderful. And she did do The Haunting of Julia. What's her name? Mia Farrow was the star of Haunting of Julia after this, which I'll talk about when I talk about the Peter Straub novel Julia. Oh yeah, this one came out of kind of left field here. Number 15 is The Others. This is directed by Alejandro Amenabar. I'm sorry if I said that wrong.
This is another film that was two countries. I think it's Spain and America that worked together on this specific.
Does this have anything to do with Del Toro?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. But it's obviously a wonderful, great ghost story.
Yeah.
Really
good twist.
Cool. Yeah. Really fun. If you haven't seen it, totally check it out. If you just want to feel like you've been creeped out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the director also wrote it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, he did both.
Yeah.
Okay, number 14. Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, this film is amazing and kind of by accident, or at least that's what the director says.
Mm-hmm.
They cast an African American in the lead for this film, and it says so much more having that actor in the role than the director says he intended to say.
Right, because he was going to have the guy get. Spoiler: if you haven't seen this, you should see it.
Totally.
But I think 1968, most of us have seen this by now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the lead dies in the end. He gets shot because they think he's a zombie. But then having that be an African American character with the police shooting him in 1968 made a heck of a statement. And apparently the director just cast the best actor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a tiny company. They made commercials. They did some Mr. Rogers stuff. They didn't like film episodes, but if there were little segments that they wanted to put into Mr. Rogers, these guys worked on it. And then they just decided to make this movie. I mean, it is straight up just let's raise a little bit of money and grab a camera and try to do something.
Yeah.
And the actor's great. They did an excellent job all the way around. It sort of created the whole zombie genre going forward.
Which is not my absolute favorite, but this one, I mean, you watch it, half of it's like a play. It's just people dealing with each other in the house. Yeah, it's really, it is worth a watch. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Okay, a movie that scared me immensely as a child for number 12. Nope, I skipped one. I'm so sorry. We don't have physical media of the next one. Number 13 is Sixth Sense by M. Night Shyamalan, and it came out in 1999.
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan has to be on this list. And I know he gets a bad rap, and we've talked about this before. He gets a bad rap because the movies are too long. If he was doing Twilight Zone episodes, every one of them would be stellar. But because they're so long and you know there's a twist coming and and I'm not saying that things like Last Airbender are actually good if they were just shorter, because that's not true.
No,
okay, The Last Airbender is not right. That is right. And the same thing with the Weird Wind one.
That was terrible. The Happening.
The Happening.
Yeah,
right.
That was not a great movie.
Right. But he has some excellent films, and the directing and the acting is right up there with Spielberg.
This movie scared the hell out of me.
Sixth Sense is funny and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And same thing with Signs. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, these are excellent films. M. Night Shyamalan is really good when he's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So
The Knock at the Cabin came out pretty recently, and that was a good time.
Yeah.
I think it's based on a book. I can't remember who by, but
I don't know.
Maybe it's not. I think it is. I think it is based on a book. But that was a really enjoyable. If you haven't seen that one either, see that one. Of course, everybody knows Sixth Sense for the twist. We're not going to give it away. We don't need to. Interesting. What I've found with Shyamalan is if you figure out the twist before it occurs, you probably won't care as much for the film. And if you don't figure it out, and you're shocked by it, it's much more enjoyable. And I found that the way people rate depends on that. I'm a huge fan of all of them because I can never guess the twists. Right. Because I just kind of shut off my brain when I go into movies and don't analyze. I analyze a lot when I read. He analyzes a lot more when he watches movies. So
like when we saw The Village, there's literally the reveal. They show something that
there's
shows
a photograph and there's a car in the picture.
And there's not supposed to be cars in this world.
Spoiler alert.
So when you see the car, Yeah, and I didn't see the car.
The whole theater was like, whoa!
And I was like, what's happening?
Didn't that happen with Yoda too?
Yes.
When the Yoda shadow comes out and
to fight, Yoda's going to do a sword fight or whatever, and his ears are there, and the whole theater's like, yeah, and I was like,
usually he's really on. He guessed the Sixth Sense twist.
Right.
He guessed it.
Right. But I still love
beforehand.
it. I love it.
Well, the scares. You can't argue with those scares.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, the ghosts in Sixth Sense
awesome.
are incredible, man.
Awesome.
They're so good. All right. Now to the one that actually really did scare me a lot when I was a kid. Number 12 is Pet Sematary. Yeah. I just got this for Christmas. 4K. I'm excited to see what's on it. This is, in my opinion, Stephen King's scariest book, and it translated to film super well.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's other stuff. I mean, yeah, things are coming back from the dead, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's monkey's paw.
But they also have spinal meningitis.
Oh, my goodness. That scene, is it his aunt or something?
Yeah,
or,
somebody's
oh, man.
up in the... Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was the scariest part. It
When
really
she
was.
charges the camera, I mean, it is
Yeah.
it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great one. So, just a couple of quick... We decided, this is crazy, but we decided we were only going to put one Stephen King film. There's
so many great ones.
So many great Stephen King films that we absolutely love that we're just going to throw a couple out really quick. Mm-hmm. You can't forget about Misery. Mm-hmm. Another one that went from the novel directly to the screen beautifully, and Kathy Bates absolutely destroys it as Annie Wilkes. She is so terrifying. Yep. Carrie, absolutely brilliant. Brian De Palma. Yep. I don't think he ever did any horror after that. Just an incredible interpretation. And I think the reason that we have Stephen King today, I know the novel did pretty good, but Brian De Palma making this film exploded Stephen King into people's homes and made him kind of a household name. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Creepshow, which has some serious 80s sexism in it. But that's not the only reason it's scary. It also has some really incredible scares in it.
But Stephen King is in the film.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He literally touches the meteor shit.
Yeah, meteor shit. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, good Stephen King movies. Number 11. Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper, who did the Chainsaw Massacre.
That caught me off guard.
And it came out in 1982. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So, of course, this is a Steven Spielberg production. And I was reading that apparently he was under contract while he was doing E.T., so he couldn't direct another film. But he really wanted to make this film, so he grabbed Tobe Hooper, and he bugged him the entire time. This is a Steven Spielberg film. And that happened a lot. You know what I mean? I mean, like, you can see elements of Spielberg in things like Back to the Future and all that stuff. Gremlins. Anything that he was a part of, okay? Tobe Hooper, I don't think he had an enjoyable experience, to be honest.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, to go from Texas Chainsaw to being Steven Spielberg's lackey is just... It would just feel really weird. But this is a brilliant, wonderful film. Of course, Spielberg has a whole list. I mean, it's incredible. Did we write anything else down that we wanted to talk about when this came up? Just Texas Chainsaw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not my kind of movie.
No, but it revolutionized hacker slasher again. Yeah. That first kill in that movie is so... It's like it's mundane to Leatherface to kill this person. And that is so shocking because it's not flashlight, slowly build up the creep. The person walks into the house, gets hit in the head with a hammer, and then he just slams that metal door. Wow. Scary. Yeah. Scary. Too gory for my taste, but scary. But this one is... The family is so... good, and that's what Spielberg shines for me. Yes. The family is so good. Every person that grew up in the era that we grew up in can watch this movie and feel like it's our family. Like he could capture the heart of 70s, 80s American working class families brilliantly. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. Okay, we're into the top 10. This might be the start of a new video. I don't know. We'll see how we cut it, or we might just keep going. Number 10 is The Witch by Robert Eggers, and the first A24 film that I saw. I really do love A24. I don't love everything they do, but they've put out a lot of good quality. I was just the other day saw streaming on one of the streaming services, The Lamb. Have you seen that?
I have not. I know the plot inside and out.
It looks
It's so freaky.
intense.
It's so freaky.
So that's one that I gotta see.
Okay, I won't talk about the plot.
But yeah, A24 has been putting out some stuff, and this was the first one I saw. It very accurately shows how terrifying and disgusting it would be to live in early colonial America, if that's the right term for it. The colonists came in and didn't know how to live on the land the same way, and were trying to use European concepts to clear the land, and everything was muddy and disgusting. And then you add on to that this extreme religion and this fear of witchcraft, and I mean it is a pot boiling over, just ready for the horror that this movie shows. And the horror is subtle and terrifying. Go ahead and talk about your favorite part.
Oh, the goat. Yeah.
Yeah.
The goat is just scary. I mean, totally scary. It's awesome. Now, I do have a complaint.
Okay.
So, sorry. Yeah, this film's incredibly well made. It's brilliant. The only trouble I have with it is they made witches real. And by making witches real, they sort of justify the behavior back in that time with Salem and all that stuff. And it's such a disgusting, horrible time. And to say that it was kind of true, I feel really weird about that. But at the same time, we're watching horror movies, right? It's a monster movie. There's got to be a monster in a monster movie.
Well, and I'm going to take it a step further, just because this is more my style movie, and say that I believe that he made them real to say that they were the better choice. They were the better people
Than the people that were there.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That she finally finds freedom through that reality. So I think that that's the major statement, and I love that statement. It is weird that the witch does such terrible things throughout the movie, but by the end I was like, yeah, get him, get on your broom, join him. And I think that is kind of, I think, why he made them real, is to say that they were what they were so afraid of. They were afraid of because it's literally freedom and a better choice. But the dialogue he took from period journals of the time. We watched it in the theater. I watched it with my parents. I don't think you were there. And my mom and dad were like, I don't know what they're talking about. But you almost don't. The words don't matter. Because it's told visually so beautiful, and that's big for me in horror. If there is artistic, not even that. If they're all art. If there is visual beauty, if they tend towards aesthetics in their style, then it really sticks out for me. So love The Witch. Haven't seen The Lighthouse yet. Looking forward to seeing it. All right, number 9. Back to childhood trauma for me. Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
Came out in 1990. Directed by Adrian Lyne. You took me to see this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You were like, you want to go see a horror movie? And I was like, yeah. And I was, 11? No, 13 maybe. 12 or 13. And I was near tears with my eyes covered the entire time. This is not a normal horror movie. This is psychological terror. This is not your average. It's kind of cool to be insane, Joker type of insane. This is real terrifying insanity, and the hallucinations that this poor human has to deal with. It's harrowing, and it will stick with you. If I was just picking the most traumatizing, scary movies I've ever seen, this is probably would be number one for me. Just because that fear is so real. Sorry, anything you want to say?
No. It's just a big Twilight Zone episode. Awesome. And the length doesn't hurt it. That's the
yeah, that's
thing.
true.
It is as long as it should be. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8, we don't have physical media for it. It's back at my place. Get Out, 2017 by Jordan Peele.
Yep, and of course he's got a couple others. He's got the Us, and then also the
Nope.
Yep.
All
Excellent.
great. All good.
Yeah. So cool. So fun. Get Out is crazy. There's an alternate ending on the disc. If you get the disc, make sure to watch the alternate ending because it makes it even better.
And that's the one he wanted, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they knew if we put this ending on, this film will not do very well.
Yeah.
That's how important and incredible the actual ending is.
Wow.
Yeah, it's excellent. And the whole film is excellent. And it's just in this really it's so neat to see something. I don't want to say that we're used to because it's a very wealthy neighborhood.
Right, yeah.
We don't come directly from that culture, but we're closer to that culture than an African American. And it's so neat to see it from an African American's point of view because it is scary.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, being outside or othered by any culture and then trying to look at that culture from outside, especially if they want something from you, which they want to something from him. Is always terrifying. And I think that the film shows how terrifying that can be.
Really cool.
To somebody that has power over you, taking control when you have no say is terrifying.
Yeah. Super good.
And I think it's something that that we all should see and understand. Number 7 is Midsommar 2019 by Ari Aster. I absolutely love this film. I haven't made you watch this one yet. It's a little gory for his taste. I can take a teeny bit more gore than he can. I absolutely loved this film when I first saw it. I saw Hereditary. That would be way up here on this list as well, but we're only letting ourselves pick one from each director. So I picked Midsommar. I have not seen Beau is Afraid yet, but I would like to see that one. But Midsommar I've seen people, other YouTubers talk about the fact that it's almost just a Wicker Man remake. And I get that. The plot points the concept is very similar. But I think Ari Aster was trying to make a point that was different from the Wicker Man in the sense that she's the other that comes into the cult-like community. And instead of being the sacrifice, she is brought into the cult and chooses the sacrifice herself. Not to sacrifice herself, chooses the sacrifice herself.
Let's repair robot.
And that really, and I think that the movie at its heart is about family, and it's about not just your actual family, but the family you choose to surround yourself with, and whether or not you've chosen a good one. And in this movie, I feel like she hasn't chosen a great family, and so the cult calls to her because as messed up as they are, they're a great family.
Everybody needs a
connection,
to be a part of something.
And that's what this movie's about, is that she finds a family, messed up family, that will love her unconditionally, and that's huge. That is huge. Okay, that was number 7. Number 6, we lied.
What?
The Shining. Remember we said we were only going to pick one Stephen King movie?
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
But Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, I would put this above Pet Sematary, as we obviously did. we'll say this is okay because Stephen King hated this movie.
Yeah. That's a Stanley Kubrick movie.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Stanley Kubrick. Stephen King showed up on set, and Stanley Kubrick literally asked him to leave. Stanley Kubrick had no interest in working with the writer of the source material, and he really made it its own. And to me, they are two different things, and I love them both. I get why people feel like this movie's lacking some of the heart of the book, because it is. But there's an addition that Kubrick has made. He told his own story, and it's really incredible. And Kubrick's, I mean, he was number one on your sci-fi, right?
2001.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
I mean, when he puts his mind to a concept and a genre, you know it's going to be killer. And this is his foray into horror, and it's killer. It's so good. It is really, really well done. Anything you want to add to that?
No. I mean, the shots, everything. You must see this if you haven't.
Absolutely. Okay. After The Shining, we have number 5, The Exorcist.
Top 5.
A cover I did not like.
Yeah. We looked for the steelbook, but there weren't any shipped out into our area. So many people pre-ordered the steelbook that they actually weren't just sending it out to Best Buy locations.
Yeah, we'll put a copy of the steelbook up, but the steelbook looked better than this.
Yeah.
But this is an absolute, I mean, a movie that needed 4K absolutely, but yeah, just a classic. So the horror boom that started with novels in the early 70s, there were 3 books. It was The Others by Tryon, it was The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, and it was Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. Oh. All 3 of those have been made into films that people believe started the horror movie boom at the same time. It's crazy how all these things are so connected. And this one, you could argue Rosemary's Baby.
What was the first one you said?
It's The Others, and there is a movie of it.
But it's not The Others.
It's not The Others. It's not The Others that
Okay.
we talked about earlier.
Okay.
It's a completely different story.
Wow.
But yeah, it has fallen away.
Okay.
But it was huge. Not the movie. The book was huge at the time. The movie didn't do so well. But The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby both did really well. And probably are the reason that we had the Satanic Panic in the 80s. Add these to D&D. It's funny that both of them were religious horror movies.
That's true.
Yeah, so The Exorcist, the story of a possession, the grueling, heart-rending story of a possession. I can't decide if the hospital scenes are scarier than the Exorcist scene.
Yeah, that is tough.
Because, yeah, I mean, the hospital scenes make me just as afraid of medical science as I am of exorcisms, which is a heck of a statement. Really incredible movie. My mom went to see it with her sister. Our mom went to see it with our aunt, and she talked about that there was a priest standing there blessing people before they were going in. I don't know if the theater paid for that guy to be there, or if it was actually a priest, but this movie got a huge boost from the church being so terrified of it. And I know my friend, his mom went and saw the movie, and she said afterwards that she was afraid that the devil could get into any of her children. Right, I mean, it is a terrifying movie. And they use the part of the soundtrack Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield. Great horror sounding film. In fact, I think it sounds a lot like John Carpenter's Halloween. I think he got the same concept.
I feel like they're very similar.
Yeah.
The transfer on this is not great. Just want to say out loud.
Oh, really?
There have been some complaints about the color. The color of this, if you can see how kind of blown out this is,
red.
That has a tendency to come in here every once in a while. So I go for 4K, but just so you know. Yeah.
This is another movie that the director cut out incredible scares because he had this 70s mentality that you don't want too many scares. To build the creep, it has to just be this really slow burn. And William Peter Blatty disagreed with him, the writer of the actual novel, and I think the screenplay. disagreed with him and said, put those scares in, and he refused, and they fought about it, but they're really good friends. So he eventually released Exorcist, the version you've never seen, and it has a scene where she's coming down the stairs in crab walk. Wow.
And do you think that's in here?
It is. It totally is. Yeah,
so
I watched
just
the
became the
4K.
norm.
Yeah. So good. And he finally says in the documentary on this that he thinks that Blatty was right. That even in the 70s they didn't want to show their hand. But now when you look back, that becomes a negative point for some movies if they don't have enough scares. Okay. Number 4, I have a bootleg copy of this at home, but this is hard to find. It is Shudder. Awesome. This is our number 4 movie. This is from 2004. This is a movie from Thailand, so I'm about to slaughter this director's name. I apologize in advance. It's Banjong Pasanthanku.
And even worse, there's 2 directors.
Oh, and Park Poom Wongpoom. I am so sorry. But yes, this film... Is this our first Asian horror film on the list?
I think it is.
Yeah, this is our first Asian horror film on the list. We went through, starting with The Ring, this huge Asian horror phase because it brought horror back to us as adults. We loved it as children, but we kind of fell away from it.
With all the slasher stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, and then all these ghosts came back. And this is, if we were just going by straight up scares, this would be number 1. The scares in this movie are constant and incredible, and they will make you jump, and they will make you crawl up the back of your seat trying to get away from the screen.
And I want to say that you can't just do that with jump scares.
Right.
If you're not building the tension through your directing, those scares aren't going to pay off.
Right.
But they do in this.
They do. They have the jump scares, but they also have this building creep scare that ends on a fire escape, and you won't forget it. It's incredible. It's really well done. This was remade, and we went and saw it. It was remade by an American, or I don't even know who directed it. It was remade for American audiences. We went and saw it, and it was so unimportant to me that I have no recollection of any part of it. We have to watch it again.
Yeah.
But I do remember that this one was better.
And it's tough because at that time my thought was, okay, this is a door opening into a whole new thing. And unfortunately, I don't think that door opened and we went into that new ghost story, amazing film area. I feel like the door kind of closed.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we've realized that rather than this being the beginning of something huge, it was kind of its own little peak.
It was a peak.
Yeah.
It was a peak.
Yeah. So these films are very important to us, and I do want to go back and see the American
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
You know, things like The Eye and I mean, just yeah.
I think One Missed Call. I don't know if they did a One Missed Call.
I don't think they did. We just got one missed call on I think it's 4K, or is it just Blu-ray?
I don't know.
I can't remember. It might just be Blu-ray, but it's from Arrow. We're watching that. It's super fun.
Yeah, Takeshi Miike didn't make it on this because a lot of his stuff is really gory, which is not our thing. I know a lot of people, I think Audition is one of his, and a lot of people put that as number 1 on their list. Not for us, but I can see why the love. He's a wonderful director, and we really did like One Missed Call. But not enough to go on the list here. Okay, that was number 4. Number 3, we are getting up there. The bronze. Here we go. Number 3 is The Ring.
Yeah.
And we have to do 2.
Yeah.
Because this is strange. And we're going to switch in just a minute, but this is strange. I prefer the American one in this case, and my brother prefers the Japanese one. And of course, we both love all of them. This movie revolutionized horror for us. And for the world, I think.
So.
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, I think it really did. You want to start?
Oh, sure.
Because you saw it first.
Right. So I was lucky enough to see the Japanese version. We had a Japanese friend named Yumi. I think we were with Yumi, right?
Yeah.
So we had a Japanese friend named Yumi. Yeah, and Bo was there. And she kind of translated it for us, kind of.
Yeah, no subtitles. She just had a copy
Right.
from Japan.
Right. So she was just kind of telling us what was happening. She wasn't like literally translating. She was just telling us what was happening. And it was so scary and so fun.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have any movies like this.
No.
You know, things like Ghost Story and stuff we had, but...
They were 70s. They were old.
Right. And we didn't really have VHS copies. It's not like we went and rented Ghost Story so we could get scared. You know, I mean, it was so neat to see something really new, and this was new, and it was terrifying. When I watch it now, I feel like it's nothing, which is so strange.
Yeah,
it's what you were talking
don't
about.
age well.
That's right. It's what you were talking about.
No.
Once you get scared by them, you're not scared by them anymore. But at the time, this was incredible. Arrow did a big old box set. Totally awesome.
The funny thing is, while he was watching this, I was in Japan, so I didn't see the Japanese one first. I came back to America, and he was like, "There's a movie you have got to see. They're remaking it. Let's go see that in the theaters." And it was The American Ring, and I felt fear like I did when I was a kid again.
Right.
I mean, it scared me. And the funny thing is when I left, I accidentally left my TV on in my apartment. So I had to come home and walk all the way back and turn off the TV and then go get in bed. And I was like 8-year-old scared. Like it was fear that I felt as an adult that I hadn't felt since I was a child. This is a tale of a cursed object, but and I talked a little bit about Koji Suzuki on my top 10 horror novels. The guy that wrote The Ring created a new way to tell the cursed object story, and it was brilliant, and it revolutionized horror. I'm going to do a quick spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this, go watch it. The fact that this isn't a story where you just get to bury the ghost's body and everything is done, which was what all 70s ghost movies taught us, is stunning. It really is, because her coming back and still haunting after they did all the stuff that we think they're supposed to do. I mean, the whole audience was just shocked because they thought it was done, and it wasn't done. Absolutely incredible. We're going to make a lot bigger video about the American Ring and the Japanese Ring when the 4K copy of the American Ring comes out, apparently in March. We'll see
it's on its way.
If they push it back.
Yeah, they did push it back once.
Yeah. So hopefully they won't push it back again. I am so excited to get this on 4K.
Yeah.
All right, that was number 3. Here comes number 2, Silver. And this would be switched for us. This is something we had to discuss when we were making this. So this would be my number 1, and his number 1 would be my number 2, and this would be his number 2, which it is. We went that way. This is my favorite horror movie of all time. It is Tale of Two Sisters from Korea. It came out in 2003 and is directed by Kim Ji-woon. I saw this. I was lucky enough to watch this with a friend of mine from Korea. So I learned some really interesting stuff about it. Number one, it was huge in Korea. For many years, the house that it was filmed in, which they built to make this movie, was a tourist attraction. The actors that they got were all very famous actors, some of them from stage. Just, huge personas in Korean theater. And it is, from a cinematographer's point of view, one of the most beautiful horror movies ever made. The color of the wallpaper and the shots that they set up with those, absolutely incredible. The story is twist upon twist, but it's not all just psychological. There is haunting in there. I'm going to make an entire video about this specific movie because I love it so much. It is a shame, but I can't get it on Blu-ray. I know that for you folks over in the United Kingdom, you all can get it.
I think Australia has a really good copy.
Australia does. Yeah. Germany has a really good copy. We don't have anything out here, and I don't know if it's a rights thing. I don't know. But I would love to get a really good copy of this movie.
And I know we could just affect our 4K player and try to make it region free. But honestly, I want the people who deserve the money to get the money.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They need to release it. They
need to release it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is in my opinion, out of all those Asian horror movies, this was the peak for me. This was really the peak. Now, it gives up some scares in its artistic brilliance, which is why I think you dropped it a little bit. But yeah, it is.
The scares that are in there are incredible.
Oh man, it's got some good scares. Yeah. But yeah, you have to be swept away by the artistic whimsy, and then get to the scares, which I like being swept away that way. And that makes the scares so much more fun.
There is an American version. It's not as good.
Oh, The Uninvited with Emily Browning, and I can't remember who plays the other sister. Yeah. This is based. Do you still have that cover?
Yeah.
Or I can just put it up here. This is based on a fairy tale from Korea, and this was something cool because the movie never describes this, but that's why on the cover it says fairy tales have never been this grim. Because it's actually based on a Korean fairy tale. And the last little section about the stepmom going upstairs and all that is the Korean fairy tale. The little thing that's tacked on the end of the movie is the actual Korean fairy tale. So if you watch it, just know that this is based on a fairy tale. And it's very, very cool. Maybe a folk tale is a better way to put it. They put fairy tale because they wanted to make the joke about the Brothers Grimm. But I think a folk tale would be more direct in this. Anyway, my favorite horror movie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
And number one, which this is his number one, but also would have been my number two because it's so awesome, is The Grudge. I don't know which one to hold up.
Yeah.
We got a lot of them.
Yeah, so The Grudge is excellent. I mean, the scares throughout, and they did this brilliant thing where they just, it's kind of like The Ring, where they just set up this situation where they can show 1,000 people being affected. I don't mean at the same time, but they can literally make movie after movie after movie of different people going through this situation. Like in The Ring, if you watch the video, you're going to get scared for 7 days.
Right.
So they can show different people having their 7 days. Just like in The Grudge, if you go in the house, you receive the curse, and then you need to go through that situation.
Right, and the American one, which I prefer the Japanese one in this case, and I think you prefer the American one, right?
Well, it's possible. It's been a long time, and they haven't released these things.
Yeah, these need to be 4K. What is going on?
Yeah, my favorite, as of this moment, I need to watch them more again, but my favorite as of this moment is probably the second American Grudge.
Oh, okay.
I appreciate that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of these movies, and a lot of them are directed by the same guy.
Yes. Sam Raimi grabbed the director. Yeah. So the production company Ghost House, the guy made The Grudge. He made, I think there was 2 made for TV, and then the official film.
Yeah, in Japan there was 2 made for TV, and then 2 made for theaters. So there's actually, before it even came to America, there was 4 Grudge movies.
Or at least 3. I don't know if he made Grudge 2 before Sam Raimi picked him up.
No, we had Grudge 2 before The Grudge ever came out in America.
Oh, nice.
Because that was our favorite. For us, Grudge theatrical release 2 was our favorite back in the day. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so then, of course, with The Ring coming out, the Japanese horror thing started booming.
Yeah.
And they started bringing these Japanese directors over to make the films. Well, Sam Raimi grabbed...
No.
The director.
What's this guy's name?
We might have written it on the...
Oh, yeah. Takashi Shimizu.
Yeah.
Takashi Shimizu made these, and he made the American one as well. Anyway.
Yeah, so Sam Raimi created Ghost House, his production company. And Sam Raimi, of course, made Evil Dead. Evil Dead is a very scary, very interesting film. It's not on our list.
We're just not zombie movie fans.
Right. It is. It's a possession zombie film.
Yeah. And a little campy.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of money.
But they weren't doing it on purpose, were they?
No,
they took it
now,
seriously.
By the third one,
with
it was insane.
Chainsaw on his hand.
Yeah, well, the second one, yeah.
Oh, was that
the second one?
Okay.
Is totally campy like that. The third one is in the past, totally insane.
Okay, that's the one I remember.
Right. Army of
Darkness.
Darkness, I
Yeah.
think is what it's called.
Yeah.
But the first one, no, he was just making a scary movie, and it's pretty dang cool. It's definitely worth checking out. But he created Ghost House. He grabbed the director. He brought him over. They remade the film in America. And it's not quite as effective. I feel like Sam Raimi felt like Americans needed more punch.
Yeah.
You know, so when you get
Or maybe the director did. I don't know. Maybe it's him saying, "What do I give Americans?"
Yeah.
Trying to understand the difference in culture. I don't know.
Yeah. So you get a lot more cuts when she's coming down the stairs.
The
at
best
the end.
scare in the original Japanese Grudge is her
Oh my gosh.
coming down the stairs.
And they take their time. She comes down the stairs. I mean, it even feels a little bit awkward because the person doesn't just leave the house. They just stand there in amazement watching, and then they fall down.
Right.
But in the American one, they cut it up a lot. Like she's here, and then she's here, and then she's grabbing the leg, and then and it's still scary. You know, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they sacrificed a little bit of creep for a lot of punch.
Yeah.
You know? So, it wasn't, in my opinion, in our opinion, I think quite as successful as the Japanese version.
But not a movie to scoff at.
No, certainly not. And by the second one, I think they realized they could take their time because it takes place in an apartment. They do it in Japan and in Chicago, and it takes place in an apartment complex. She comes down the stairs, and
They redid the stair thing.
they do.
Okay.
They do. Yeah.
Now, I remember seeing him in theaters and having a really good time.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
I mean, they're all great, weird, crazy, psychotic horror films.
Yeah. Well, and this one is set up just like you said. You get the curse, you're gonna die. It's gonna scare you. I mean, that setup is so easy that you can just do it forever. It's just lots of little scares, and it's really brilliantly done. Really brilliantly. All right, that is our top 25 horror movies. If you enjoyed this, please click the like button. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. I don't know if we'll do another movie or video with both of us, but I will be putting up one in a couple of days of my my thoughts on Peter Straub's Julia, which I'm just finishing up. So we will speak to you guys then. Thank you so much.